So we want the switch because the switch is stuff. So we turn the positive here to the yeah. We need to go to switch first and then go to the shift. Switch first.
We have to do like a digital.
Oh yeah.
We have to read it. Right, so
So it's about that you have this positive yeah, this means
So let us know once you've done the seconds, all right?
So there is this so this one
Oh, wait, so
this whole this one
You have to say, you have to check it.
so it's
right, so 3:13.
Guilty is input on trying to read it.
yeah, so we have here positive then you connect. So now this row, this 5 becomes a negative.
And
Okay. And then you have to save the value, right? Because you can just
right,
read
so
it. So you can go.
value.
Yeah, but you remember how
I
much, like,
actually-
yeah, okay, it's, yeah,
into a switch.
it's val, and then you print val.
Okay, val.
Yep.
So you want to switch that.
Alright, first serve.
Which way to go?
There's no goddamn.
You need to go
So
to
here,
Oh, like, that's from memory as well? Yeah, so number.
We don't have it first.
Yeah.
So raise your switch.
so this one, this is going ground, so this, all this 5 will be ground. This is to the ground.
Okay, so print.
Perfect. And then we need something to go to your resistor.
Oh, wait, not find the file.
Those we
Yeah,
It's complicated.
It's not saying access denied, it's saying the system cannot find a file. It cannot open device.
Yeah, just really check the connection, make sure you're set up properly and all that.
Oh my lord, I'm so.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
And then from resistor we go to ground. So, yeah.
Because this doesn't.
Visual 13 is inputting a value into our thing. Getting a value and then we're, yeah, it's being inputted into, I guess. Right, access is denied now.
It would matter, it's the same. Oh, but actually, no, you did a close switch. Yeah.
That's fine. In this case.
Save.
Right now it's parallel, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. And that's
What are
it.
you saying?
Yeah.
Yes, closed, right, like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's coded.
Yeah.
But how, but aren't you saying it's not?
How do we figure out what's happening over there?
It's just we need to.
Like, we have.
It's supposed to be that.
Yeah.
Well, here.
Yeah.
So there's an ABCD
But there's a visual.
It's not uploading.
This way.
If the switch is
Not
off,
showing us the problem.
there should be nothing.
But that's a separate circuit. Is that?
It'll be nothing, right? Within.
But then why should this one register? Realistically, shouldn't
Oh,
it?
it's 2 Yeah. At that bottom bit will be the first circuit. But doesn't the resistor take up all
There's
the,
actually, let's say, Travis.
Yeah, yeah. it's-
so each of the ground, and then the switch.
Oh, what's it called?
Oh, it is, right.
Where's the switch?
I see what they're doing.
Parallel with 5 bits.
I Oh, that makes so much sense.
So let's see the ball first and is the thing is
That's correct. It should have.
and then ball. So this
Always.
Actually, to do an elected this evening following that.
the flashing
There is no circuit.
Yeah,
Good, cool. Is that one something that's your? Yeah.
explain what the two circuits
What if this is open? Wait, sorry, if it's closed, it's $5. If that's a difference of $5. So we're reading.
Yeah.
This one goes, yeah, this one's open, so there's no circuit there, but it is.
Not really two circuits, one circuit.
Yeah, once again,
Yeah, so, you know how normal right stuff. I don't think it's happening, if that's the front, the circuit is not complete, right?
Yeah, so, yeah.
When you close the buttons, then electricity can pass through the entire wire. Because electricity can pass through the wire, then it's sort of like, you know, and I can just put it at one point in the circuit and it brings the volt to that point. That's basically what the gate is doing. And it's taking it to the other. To the other one.
Telling whether it's on or off.
Yeah, because it's basically higher load, there's no like voltage spike or something.
Like I said, two. So she's.
Think of it less as two when you score, it's one with a bonus.
What is up?
This was really the bonus. So has 0.
and
It's just
When it's open.
Yeah.
This is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no voltage. There's no voltage. Yeah.
I mean, I thought just put up
Yeah.
almost high, make it as high.
Also run this work.
I mean,
Yeah.
like without anything.
It's got blue tack everywhere, so it's rusty, but it goes up and down.
Okay, you're like, this one you push down and it opens the.
No, you rotate it and then it goes up and down.
Yeah, get it?
So we want to make it all.
Yeah, you want to release it. Now it's being added. Like the value, yeah, like whatever you press the button. Yeah. That's, now I can.
That was native.
Now, how would you write
Native?
I don't like the gentrified.
Yes, that.
I see you.
We'll have to figure out how.
That would be the next.
It's not making.
Alright, so we
Usually we're out of the tricks. Yeah, right now we should read new things.
press the button, you can search.
We are nowhere near the,
What do you think is
in the trenches.
this? But for me, serial.
Okay, so everyone, you've got the circuit going?
Okay, yeah, we're just wondering,
Check.
we're just wondering exactly what we want to be doing here to like test if it's working.
Yeah, so this is the next part of the code, which is see, what you said as this terminal. Right, why don't we this?
Yeah, it is a two.
Oh, okay.
So right now you write, and then
In.
So those are the assumptions there. How would you print a terminal? Remember how to print it?
Oh,
So,
got it.
so we can show you,
Yeah.
so.
what is
Print terminal, you can set up serial, like,
Oh, yeah.
Set serial.
Yeah.
What's the setup function for serial?
Serial W. And then bracket the.
Oh, like that, right, and then.
The LED doesn't.
It's just a.
Yeah, because it's not. There's more to it than yeah. So which understand this first.
Yeah.
Like serial.
Right?
Ah, I see.
See how you can find the value there.
No, he said it.
I think it should be input, yeah.
So if using.
But I don't know why it's also still
So you
working.
need to read.
Yeah, it's definitely input.
To the.
Yeah, yeah.
the value, right?
And then I'll find it. Add delay.
Oh, my God.
Because because you're trying to.
Oh, yeah, there's a we need to do a event. Practice too. What is it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're using pin, right? Into.
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to set up.
And then what are we gonna do?
This will be, you want it as an input or as
Input. So you just like a
is it an output, so is it outputting something or are you trying to read an information?
Oh,
Here is.
Oh, yeah. Wait, no, now it's.
Again.
So do we need to set like if the button fell or not? We set it as it is.
Okay, so let's try that. So we'll print the terminal, whether you press it.
So it should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it should be like if the.
Even though it's
I'll see what mine looks like.
We use the digital read. We use the digital read.
Wow.
Actually, bar, is it like bar? What the bar?
By pressing it, what happens?
Or is that the variable there? I can
Oh, okay.
any name. Oh, okay.
So if you want to send whatever we agree.
Yeah.
Report it, how we do check.
Expected.
Yeah,
That all.
Oh, yeah.
No, you don't want the visual read.
No, you don't.
When we are doing LED, we don't have the internal.
That's what my code is like. So you need zero. But you need.
Then when do we?
Whenever you want to check.
Writing is
Ah,
if it is not,
You can put a valid on it.
Oh, I know why.
You need the brace for each one.
if we put down the well.
Yeah, you have a coding for you.
Like, why do we need to put down the
Yeah,
well?
yeah, you have to write it there. So, yeah, just do that and see what happens. It's not.
Oh, so it was stronger.
Yes.
Remember they'll check all the connections there as well.
Yeah, I think they are.
Clear it?
And then you pin number, which is two.
Ah.
Because delayed 1,000, yes, we've delayed that. No, okay, see what happens when you. Basically, there's no delay, it'll loop it.
Eric, are you getting an output in the output box or is there?
It's a serial monitor.
Box? Where's the serial? box?
Click on the top right of the.
Oh,
And Paul now was like,
try, oh.
oh, nice. That's why I think add it play. You want to put it there?
Oh, you need something to store the value.
Yes. So you want to. That's the button, Sinking touch, just.
Oh, wow, that's second.
You can hold it, you can hold it.
Hold it. Hold it.
You don't care.
Oh,
Ah.
And which section? What section?
Yeah.
Picture what?
We
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's no digital one. What's the difference between?
this number.
Like there's
One zero.
when you open, you don't need value. If the value is linked with the 1 and the 0 of the button. Because the button is the signal 1 and 0, right? Just as in,
Should I like put the delay inside the game?
yeah, so put the delay inside.
Press it too quick.
That's random. Now try, I don't know if it's the next, so try put an LED.
We have.
See if you can,
Be correct because.
I mean, what's the next count, right? Or would you?
You can do it like, it's not gonna be.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be.
And the only thing I can do is give
Oh, wait, no.
So see how.
it's just like.
Yeah. So when the model has a switch. It. Yeah, it's a complete. So why do you have the? Go back to, not the resolution.
Because you read.
Yeah.
Because you put it dark green.
Oh, this is the reader, yeah.
That's the reader.
Code is in place. Pin mode two.
That's what it is.
So right now, what's happening is the LED is lighting up, which is the circuit.
Yeah.
So you guys make it so the LED and then when you so you put it in where the LED turns on after 5 seconds.
Right. You like, yeah, you just put a delay,
Yeah.
delay 5 and you delay.
And then you turn it on. But right now, there's no instant.
Yeah, but then you put
So
the.
basically, yeah, exactly.
What about like when?
Yeah, so you take one and two.
When into.
So everybody press basically.
Yeah, if I was pressed, then.
Turn on LED on.
No, we just want to read it. We want to see if it's a 0 or 1.
Tommy do like, number 6.
Oh,
I mean.
You have it right here, it's right here, it's not.
But yeah.
It's the most practical stuff.
That's how you are.
What's other reading? Whether or not this is,
Yeah, I think that's the
because we're not closed right now. So you find.
Really?
So that's why we need to.
It will go to where they are. It's an arrow.
If you don't track it out, it's just going to shoot.
Yeah.
Cool. We have one more group left of this exercise.
It is, so there's number 6.
Otherwise-
So on 0 be a 4. Is it just like, oh, just please go between.
That's reading
And then. Yeah, but you're reading. You continuously run 5 volts.
But this is like how to come before the thing you're checking the switch
Yeah,
for.
exactly.
Okay, so is this your
What it is the switch on or
I'm
off.
sure it's like.
Oh, okay.
So good practice to have while you're doing mechatronics, right? And this is something that you need to sort of have as you're moving forward. When you're defining your pin, right, you should define it as a constant initially and then call back to that variable when you're using the variable. Does that make sense? Okay, so instead of say, for example, pin mode 2 and then input, define 2 first. Okay, as like button pin or whatever, and then name it as button pin. Okay, so it's just a good practice, particularly when we're dealing with a lot of inputs and outputs. You want to know and be able to change very rapidly what the pin is. Okay, so can you change the code to have like this?
Yeah, on cell.
This is a moving variable. Instead of the two being the two. You're gonna have.
Each time, you don't have to control. All-wheel drive, full picture. You don't want to jump out. You don't want like you shifting. Sorry, that's great.
Yeah.
Correct. You know how like.
I didn't do that. I didn't do that course. I just.
I feel like it's really like.
So you can also modify it instead of printing ones and zeros to print high and low instead. So it's gonna look like this, okay?
No, it's too long.
Make sense? Okay.
Basically, that's basically what I was talking about. Like, that's basically what I read. But the if. Right, do you get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you
Print variables and it's what it is. Yeah, sort of like just to make it a little bit easier to read, I would recommend adding the escape character N if you recall from Python course, right? That way you can get a new line every time that it prints, okay? Because right now it's just gonna print horizontally like this. Okay, if you recall the backslash N.
Right now, so this was for.
Yeah, backslash N, so if you try and add that in.
I just pressed the button to reset, right? Wait, here.
I mean, like, if you want to just practice. So you wouldn't call it one, LED one, the LED one would be.
It almost crashed.
11 LED. Then you could just do the little white LED. That's the right. Yeah, it's
Almost crashed.
just typical light is if you turn the LED to high. It's but I'm light jump is zero. No. I'm just teaching you how you would utilize the ability of
It's just like making it around that, there's like general.
Yeah, correct, exactly, yeah, exactly.
We messed up here. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You just say.
Exactly, like, I mean, yeah.
It's a whiskey.
Exactly. Yeah, then just don't.
No, I Sarah, the bread.
thing is.
I don't understand. The perpendicular, like, I don't understand.
Okay, so some important points, we're gonna move along, just so we can finish on time, or try to finish on time.
That's okay.
So, take a look at this code here. Now, would this code work? Okay, so previously I had this code here. So I saved digital read, so I read the value into this integer button press. And then if button press is high, I print high, otherwise I print low, okay? Now, would this code work instead? Yeah. Yes or no?
The thing is, it's just
So I don't, sorry?
the else seems. No, actually, it should be fine.
So all I'm doing here instead is I've gotten rid of the variable, right? And I read it directly, right? And so this collapses down to a variable and it does work, okay? So it does say, does it equal high? If so, then print. Otherwise, I can print low, okay? Now, does this work instead? Yeah. Yes, okay. Any issues there, right? Now, what about this? So this can lead to buggy code, right? And I want someone to explain why, or any hypothesis as to why this might lead to very buggy code. Okay, so sometimes if you're extremely unlucky, you might release the button while it's reading in between here. Does that make sense? Yeah. And that can happen, okay? That is just something that can happen. And so what happens is that in this, what's called event checker code, so it's trying to check for an event, you actually read a thing twice, and that is considered bad practice, okay? So in event checker, you should always go back to reading it just merely once, and then storing it as a variable, and then using that variable in your check. Okay? So if you ever, so actually like if you ever work in mechatronics, right? Never have an event checker that reads it twice in the same check. Okay? Because that can lead to very buggy code. Because for example, in this case, not much will happen, right? But in many other cases, you can imagine when you read it twice, and then you read a completely different value every time you're reading it, right? And that can lead to all sorts of buggy code. All right. So see if you can modify your code so that it only prints once when pressed. Okay, so how would you modify your code so that it only prints once when you press, and it doesn't print when you release? Okay, so right now it's just printing constantly, right?
No, this is a great start.
I wrote it for you.
So this is the original code if you want to refer to it.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening right now.
The same thing.
Printing 20.
As opposed to read within your.
Yeah, it's fine.
No matter how much.
Sounds like
Well, I think that's the way we want it to be. No, I will not bring law, even if I. So when you press your pin level 5, if I take it away, you're not. Yeah, man, I mean, just take off the third component of it.
So I think that's the issue. Wait, do you want? Okay.
Oh, why did I pick out the delay? It's such a delay.
Delay.
So bottom size is already in the system, or did you have to define it? No, but I mean like.
Hold it down.
Yeah, but so bottom size is already a thing, it's already a function, that's in.
I'll plug it in there. Wait,
You make it do
He said when I.
Define at some point what it means to press a button.
He has one
Like
quotation.
the practice looks that I'm working at, it's like, press a button, it's not it. I would have to say. I don't even know what I'm pressing. When voltage changes equals button press. Do you get what I mean? So button press already came. And like the word button hit mode, like all this came up. So the pattern has like, for example, left, up, and then based on left and up, yes. Right? Like based on two functions, I have to every other function. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
You search up online how to do it. Yeah.
It is
There's a lot of those items that's really good. You can press the button.
Yes.
Isn't it the question? So remove all this. So at least it's pretty high low.
It's pressed, but you already know the button is pressed.
Is it an inbuilt function? What?
So it's
No, it's not. Instead of high low, high low, high low, high low, high low, high
horrible.
Wow.
No, it doesn't.
And then you would close.
Fun fact, she's very early.
But if she's also.
Oh wait, sorry, I get it. I get it. Yeah. Wait, so did we chose the words?
Yeah. Fun fact, you check.
It's a capital yes.
Copy that down and then we have to edit it.
Nice, it's more.
Start from scratch. So you think you add that.
Yeah, look at this. There's a few that they constantly combine things.
That's what I'm figuring out.
So
They didn't have to use string already.
Oh, yeah.
They use single, they use double.
You need double quotation.
Anyway, if but equal one, equals true, yeah, one is true, so it's I. The space.
Okay, when using strings in C++, you must use double apostrophes. You cannot use single apostrophes, as we just learned. Yeah.
Single is for character.
Also,
Okay, one
characters.
is I.
Yeah,
It's reading with
We don't know all your first read.
So make those double apostrophes there. Should be double apostrophes. There is single apostrophe. There should be double apostrophe, yeah.
You don't want.
Yeah.
For the stereo monitor, is it?
You don't want to do anything. Is it? Yeah, but then what's gonna happen is. You can do that.
It is possible for me to just press one and it's showing one. You can just click on the thing, just like this high. It's not hiding, no need to bring it up.
Yeah. There is, but that's the task.
Is it?
Like, so, whatever you want to print once when pressed, right?
Yeah.
And then how do you modify code? Does anyone manage to figure it out?
Yes, words. Yeah.
I'm trying to wrap this. No, you don't feel them, just one.
Perfect, we're still your.
Let me print once
Alright,
when
you
pressed.
know what, yep. Okay, we just done.
Oh, they press once period.
Once period when you press,
And never again.
nothing prints, release, nothing prints, and then you
Again?
press again. and
Yeah.
press.
Oh, hey.
I don't know, maybe.
When you press it,
Okay, this seems to be a bit more challenging than I might have expected, so I'll go through what the answer actually looks like, right? So, this is what's called an event checker pattern, right? And it's one of those patterns that you see time and time again in mechatronics, okay? So let's go through what this looks like. So some of the new lines that we have here is this second line here, which says, what is the last state that the button was in, okay? So we'll use that event checker later. This here is just the code that we had before. So this is setting this button pin as an input. It's preparing terminal, okay? And then we are reading from the button, okay? So we're checking the digital reading from that pin, just like we had before. Now this is the new line here, right? So if the current state, so the current state that we're reading now is different to our last state, right? And the current state equals high. So this checks for what's called a rising edge, which is the voltage goes from 0 to 5 volts, okay? Which is equivalent to us pressing the button. Does that make sense? So if you have these two conditions, so this is an AND here, recall this is if, it's a Boolean and another Boolean, so if both are true, then you print press, okay? So give this a try in your own code, okay? And don't forget to use double apostrophes for this here. All right, and then finally, after all this, we update our last state to current state. Okay, so this is a very, very important piece of code that you'll see everywhere in mechatronics. So please let me know if you have any questions or it's confusing in some way, yeah?
Do you wanna run it?
That's cool.
Run
Run through this logic in the groups, so you can understand it, okay? Just make sure you fully understand this code, every single line of it.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
That is where is why is it we're gonna do a lot of
Evidently.
maybe the way it's
Evidently it doesn't work.
Yeah, but you can't.
write the code and then.
Yeah.
You do initialize current state. We have to do it. You don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can, but it's good practice to always keep it in the scope of which you intend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, is one of these missing? I got it. Okay. Yeah.
It's one line, so it doesn't.
Hello. You say hello to us.
It's uploaded. Oh, I plug it in.
Like no now.
Oh,
Yeah, you see what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, it could work.
You just double. You just double.
Yeah.
You need to.
Lost everything for a while.
So another cool trick to be aware of is if you want to print on a new line, then you can simply write print line like that, okay? And then it'll print on a new line every single time that it prints. Print line, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just defining some.
Oh.
In lost everything for a while.
Oh, I'm like pressing a button. It's not-
So you need to have the state, otherwise it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So see if you can turn it to this code instead, and I'll explain it again, right? Because again, this is a very important pattern that you see everywhere in Mechatronics, right?
Oh, wait, take this back.
One of the biggest building blocks.
I don't think we deserve it right now.
Yeah, I've had states, which is cool.
The things that you mark is not there, therefore you never.
Just you can-
Right, that tells everyone.
You folded within 2 seconds.
Alright, guys.
Alright, so one of the most important lines to be aware of is this if statement here, right? So just think about what last state, current state would be, and then see if you can understand this Boolean logic, right? Because it's important that you understand it for a rising edge. And if you do understand it, then let me know what you think it should look like if we're trying to look for a falling edge. So we go from 5 volts to 0 volts. What should change?
Last name is on. No, I'm just saying to make it a falling into the right range.
First state equals
So it check whether it's going to five.
last state equals double equals I.
So I think if you change last name to half,
Last state.
then that's still falling in effect the inverse, right?
You can do a lot more, which is, I think that's what's in.
Yeah.
Oh, it's.
Last
Oh,
Yeah,
that
no,
makes
no,
so much sense.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah.
No, it's got that, if you actually,
Same thing in reverse.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's only the last one.
Yeah, I can't remember what happened.
If we assign the last state initially as high and we make the current state, like.
So
One, we make current state low, like equal to low, would that reverse the fall against,
Wait, what did you say about the first line? You said.
last state is not high.
At the last line?
No, very beginning.
Yeah, that's what you mean.
Okay, well,
Okay, so. Just, okay, let me just.
So is it? Oh, you can also
And current state.
Okay, so let me run through the logic of this again, right? Now that you've got it working. So we have a couple of variables here, right? So the first is last state. And then we also have current state. Okay, so when we start, so we initialize last state as low. Okay, I'm gonna just go through this once, so just pay attention because I'm not gonna go through it again. I'm not gonna go through this again now. So last state is initially low, okay? And then we read current state here, which is if the button is not pressed, it's also gonna stay low. Does that make sense? So when it first starts, both of these are low. Then it checks if current state doesn't equal the last state. Is that true for this? Yes or no? No, right? Because it needs to be different, right? And so this is false. And so it doesn't print anything. It just ignores this piece of code here. And then it updates last state equals current state. So it goes, okay, this is now equal to this.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as I press it, right, what happens? This will loop around, this reads here, and it goes, this is now high. Okay, so current state is equal to high now. And it goes, if current state doesn't equal last state, so that is now true, right? Current state equals high, that is also true, it will print press. Okay, and then it updates this to high. Now what happens if I now let go? So if I let go, this here becomes low, right? So current state now becomes low. And then it checks this. It checks, does current state not equal to last state? That is true. And is current state high? No, it is not, right? It is low. So therefore it escapes it. It doesn't print, and then it updates this to low. Now, if I had instead put this equals to low, then I would capture the falling edge, right? Which is when it goes from 5 to 0 volts. Does that make sense? So if, for example, you wanted to print as well, then you create another conditional there that says, and current state low, and you can say something like print released, right? And it will print released. Does that make sense? So see if you can get that code working, right? In terms of it prints press and release every time you press and release.
We're going to do all the time, so
Nice to do the release, but we want to see like they want to go past like press and yeah.
All you need to do is you just need to finish that to see what release, but then how do you do both lines?
Yeah.
Just think about the control flow there. You should be able to do like a nested if
And
right? Nested if it's locked.
And that would be.
Yeah.
The one you said. I put also this one.
Oh, yeah, this one.
Yeah.
This is the one. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, just.
Current state, current state. last
Is it
state.
both have to be
Last state.
current state, last state? Current state. You want to try it? Let me try that one. You want to try that?
So this is what the code looks like if you want to print both during press and release, okay? So we just follow the logic. If current state doesn't equal last state, right? Then if it's high, we print press, else we print release.
Okay.
But it needs to be.
You can have the original stuff.
Yeah, so it only prints once. Why? So it's to do with these variables here, right? So it only prints if current state is not equal to last state.
Oh, but we're updating.
Yeah, but we're updating every single time, right? So it's only when you press and release that.
Last state equals first.
Wait, so instead of the and line double, it's like if this one's it, if, and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me, right?
Use the variable. Okay.
Wait, no, it's not.
It's not that. I changed it to just because I lost the.
Column is now current state.
This one is and current state is
Yeah,
Yeah, so if it's like that, it doesn't equal, yeah, sorry, it does equal last state, so it's not.
Be careful of your curly braces and the column.
Current state is also.
Wait. Oh, you, I think I'm gonna get it. Alright.
Or is it very?
Remove this part.
We don't have the last line.
Yeah. There's an extra.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
Bro, I'll like edge it on like. It's really good.
Created more errors.
Oh, you just have to deal like so high and low. Yeah.
It's like a timer.
It's not there.
If not release it 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's not.
The high, this high, then no, the high is one, the low. So you can see when we use high and low, we don't need to put the double. Yeah, it's like some of the functions like now.
So this is what I'll do. Every string will have the double.
Oh, this one, because you can see the high and low, then we have that double approximation inside that are not string.
Okay. So the next challenge is, see if you can change your code so that the LED turns on when pressed. And then off when released, we actually have already done that. Oh, sorry, yes, no, we have not done that. So see if you can connect it to your LED circuit, right? And now keep in mind that these are two separate circuits, okay? So don't try and connect it all in together in the same circuit. They should be in different pins and connected to different circuits, okay? So you can sort of do two sides of the breadboard so you're not confusing yourself. But see if you can get the button connected to the LED.
Is it like we like make like another part, use another part?
So the button should remain the same. Please don't try and change the button.
Yeah, sure.
No, use another part.
No, use that same button.
So that's just like copying this rather than saying serial.
Same button.
Oh, just.
Yes.
Which is not, it's not a copy.
Right. Our circuit here also connect back to this button.
Yes, we even, oh, like, yes.
So we.
On top, yeah, you're not modifying this.
So do you write, so anything is like, I can use another file with red, we have something else to make it to in 14 of us. And then the digital write is in 1.
Oh,
Actually, already can detect you.
Like this. So digital write.
It's gonna be very similar to the very first thing. Where you can control it.
Right?
We try to do this every day, and that's when it's high, you send out the signal. So it's
What number?
We have
There's 10.
Just like, whatever. So, anyway, digital write LED is. And then.
Can we present this also?
Maybe right low, presumably that means. Low.
So right now.
Low for no low, high for no right.
Set up.
I think it makes sense. I think my logic should be
Set up. So we will.
But there's no point in having it done that. So I don't know.
Just by something.
They will choose, right? That's how they want it. That's the whole point of why.
I'm thinking like read about it, but
Yeah. What's the sub point? It's very cool to be like.
like
If you change the, what if you change everything changes, also it's easier. And then you don't need to, you don't need to change.
every time.
I don't even know.
I never bird.
I realize I have not seen that. Yeah. Why do you gotta go?
You can do red lady.
Yes. Yeah.
And then this one will connect to the
I
negative.
did go. No, he didn't. No, he definitely. The other people went to the same. Yeah. How did that go? Oh, yeah. So is it just church, what is it one of the added words? Or one of them going?
Right.
But not the other.
That's what it's like. Yeah. To try that out.
Hell yeah.
Unless you're gonna have to get done.
Yeah, put again.
Oh.
It's I think.
If you start dealing with stuff like this, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But why do you wait? Yellow.
Which one was like the yellow?
The yellow is in the class.
Internally.
Yeah.
Really thanks.
I was like,
Yeah, so
red light, green light.
Yeah. It's been really yeah, because it's already like already.
Yeah, that one's off.
We need this one.
You've been using.
You can keep, like,
It doesn't matter. You just-
oh, we can do that after that, so people are like, Bob's gonna make it.
So still like loading.
Yeah, funny, I was like.
They want to make, so they want a separate, like a separate thing that goes with it.
I was looking for
I'm not gonna say he doesn't want it to be part of the place.
You got it. Yeah, well, it's supposed to be perfect. It's not meant to be constant.
There's another copy task. They like one now.
No, I mean, just.
Yeah. Then they have. Okay, whatever. I'll use. What was it?
Yeah, it's actually perfect.
Oh, wow.
It's actually perfect.
Yeah.
It's like green light.
All of that. Oh.
You look flavor against it.
Yeah, I should take it.
Alright, so. Right.
Oh, like you change brand. Oh.
Well, it's better than flavor. Sure, sure.
Yeah,
It's not gonna work.
Someone managed to
The
figure
other
out.
main green variable.
They just connected it to this. Like, hold on.
Technically, that's how we have.
That doesn't look like-
Oh,
Yeah.
We got both.
Yeah,
You're rolling.
it's different, not the flavor.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
For the LED.
This is
Oh, I like it.
There you go.
the whole top makes me like negative, look at the screen. That's top, that's gonna make it. I think I'm trying to like the top. We actually went top, let's be the thing. Yeah, when you sit down, it's like the way.
Set up now.
Like we.
I'm the LED.
Yeah, go print cards. We got it. And we have a step up on.
You now. Yeah, like, just speak back of that.
Watch monitor LED.
That's
Fails uploading.
And then when it's.
That's a good payout.
Does that make sense?
The payout at the end. You want 800.
If we upload it.
Correct. But you want to do it in the code format, not.
I had all the money, we had like.
You wanna link it to
cash,
code,
and
not.
it was like, so. It was
You're
like
correct,
walking
yes.
around it. It was walking around.
New lines.
What if it's, what if the links are here in the.
TD.
When the, when, no, program the LED to turn on and off on the bottom. Because
That was a pot. But everyone was.
They put their own myriad of problems. We are not the
Yes,
same.
You have myriads.
I always use
It's in all of this button. The LED turns on.
And like somewhere an LED.
It doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely, like, brings the guy.
It doesn't even
Really tough.
Yeah.
It was, he had
Yeah, stand it out.
Yeah.
Free block. Free block.
Somebody save us, please.
And.
Access is denied.
Get it out, right out the side.
Replace your cable, I don't know.
I have. What's the word?
What it means that the LED turns on.
Also, when he rose me up, he rose me 400K. If I've done it, already on 2K, I think.
So we can give
Like, so
LED.
so hard. So hard. You got high pay, you want it. Definitely the last card, diamond.
It's on.
I'll get one.
It's not even told when it's on. If I'm friends,
Yeah. And he was saying, he was like, seven beer.
Yes.
Anyone, yeah, but he loved it, right? Good job. That was great. Straight. Yeah, that's it.
Which pen are you gonna use?
You put the LS, this will use.
Yeah, but I ended up lost, and that was the good one.
Great.
But,
Put LS. Okay, now.
We already figured out.
he was on the table, I was lying, shit, man. I was second to the final table for the final ten. And then I had to go to.
Yeah, so you're right, so I did twice press, so I spun the press pretty
And then
And then go down.
the big line, the full line increases. And then that was getting initially there was like,
That tells
yeah,
the
10,
LED.
1,600, 500.
That's the
Yeah,
thing.
then they go to 10, they get rid of 50, then they get rid of 100, then they go to 5. Eventually, we only have 100,000. I think it's like everyone starts looking bad. You could have a similar spot and otherwise, you don't want. Yeah.
It's already.
That was cool.
Okay, if you're done with that challenge, then the next one is this.
LED comma I. All caps.
The LED turns on and off only when pressed. Okay?
You're right, you're right.
The LED turns on and off only when pressed.
It's the same time.
Okay, and if you finish up, this is the final challenge for the day, which is the LED switches between 100% and 50% brightness when the switch is pressed.
Okay.
Like everything, I'm there like.
We have to like.
Like barely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you grabbed it. So, wait, so the lights on, so it's not.
This one. Ground here.
Well, I guess
And I use, yeah, I use, because I said it may have high when something changes. So we have high, so we stay. And you
God, at least.
Yeah. The thing is like.
Tells-
This is all right.
Oh my God, okay. So it tells them how many what else we need. It tells them what else we need.
But a lot of these writing about these ways. You need to
I think you're connected basically.
Or like, do you remember how you have the analog, Were you here?
No, yeah.
Yeah, and you know how you use a one for switch. That's what's in like when you do like it's writing.
That's why it's gonna send it.
Writing that.
Right way, yeah.
On the way up.
Already stopped.
How I would want this to also got it.
The whole show going on.
It's not part of the show.
Yeah, bro. But you don't know what separate is. It's so different.
Oh, you have to do a whole circuit for that. You
Look, look, look at
Yeah,
that.
it's always on.
Wait, you need to put a resistor in the LED.
Also, do need a resistor.
Yeah. Then I'll say that.
What are they?
That's what I said.
Yeah, otherwise my Friday.
I mean, it won't be
If you want to already tried it.
Right, well, try it.
Okay,
Which?
that was what I.
I'll say that.
Okay.
It'll just be really simple. So it's-
Wait, yeah, right. So you build a new circuit for the LED.
Yeah, so the LED, this is LED.
Yes, what's my-
Oh,
So there's two different things.
No,
Just go back to the Arduino.
yes.
Arduino, I don't get, you're gonna code.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So if I want to write, what else is there?
Analog, right?
So read is gonna tell us.
Yeah.
Alright, upload.
So we can digital read the.
Not even upload, thank God.
You can check if it's.
Yeah, you can read those.
But it possibly.
Yeah, I'm like confident you dropped it.
Yeah,
Coded
in
it.
theory.
Yes.
Then
Say-
it's so
So I think it's the
So
other
there'll
way.
be like sensors where you have to read it.
Yeah.
And then the inside is like.
Yeah, temperature sensor, and then there's like a little code that converts the frequency that you're seeing into like the value.
Yeah.
And then 25 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
It'll be
What's
just
the word of such a which means that.
No,
it might be a library. Let me double check. They had it in the. Yeah, and then you can- you can read if it's highly.
Oh.
Hold on, bud.
Yes.
Or like, or if it's like. And then.
Yeah.
And then if
That was good.
Yeah, so it's all just digital.
Oh, that's actually
So it's just,
bad.
yeah.
Is there any more advanced?
There is. Let me check. But you won't, you pretty much never need to use it.
Okay.
That's what good.
No, we did.
So analog, right?
Oh,
Or is a fake?
yeah, but if yours is blocked, should we borrow it?
That was usually like a. I mean,
Also,
Yeah.
we're two ends of the same equally competent team.
Do you have to buy a resistor? How are you gonna write it?
Oh, wait, the.
I don't know about the other
It was.
Oh, it is.
I believe.
I mean, it worked, you saw it work, you were working, you saw it. Wait,
Yeah, the LEDs are
I was right, there isn't that. So it's just, digital read, digital write, analog read, analog write. I'm pretty sure that is just how it works, there isn't.
You have it.
Yeah, how do you do it? Yeah, analog one. Yes, correct. Which is me, right?
I wanna make sure.
Oh, yeah.
Also modulation. The search PW.
Exactly.
No, it's not code, but it does it in analog right.
Okay.
Like analog right does it automatically. So that's 10% PWM right there.
Yeah.
Or is
Wait,
it 0 to 255?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we did like 120, we couldn't even tell the difference. Like,
Yeah.
look, the same.
Yeah, it's 2
How did you guys get your LED? Is it like we did the right, we did the.
Analog right.
Analog right.
So. You speak right. I'm giving it like percentage.
Well, no, but like, is that for the?
Yeah.
We just wanted to turn it on.
Oh.
Digital right wasn't working.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, it wasn't.
Digital right, whatever, like the thing is like low and high. Is this like sorry?
We still live stream.
Oh.
Yeah, they also the bottom place.
Really, in reality, these ones should be almost live.
Go to
Oh,
the
this
bottom
is
one.
the-
Yeah,
this must be on. Then when I press, these must be on.
That's the transistor, the resistor will be
Oh, actually, no, I mean, it's not gonna make a difference. All you have to do is change it. I mean, look at that, it's not gonna all just-
Wow.
So that's true.
I was gonna do that.
Just find the error.
I think I've got yellow here, so keep it red.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I.
Wow.
And. And.
What
Yeah,
is
it's
player?
Then I.
I thought life was a game.
Yes.
Well, I took a player.
What's the game? I thought life was hating the player.
That's life is playing you.
Okay, you just-
I completely agree.
Okay. That's not, yeah. Okay.
Wait, but you got rid of the violence.
Right.
It's gonna take.
Okay, there we go.
This one.
Oh,
You Let's try it out. This was good.
That he was in the same bro. Yeah.
Such a long
If there's a change, with itself, if it's fine, if you're not present. You just bypass that. So, yeah, exactly, yeah, so what is it like that?
That's right.
That's gonna work? Yeah, okay, let's test it.
You did right.
Do you have your sample?
Yeah, mine. Your work. Okay, that's the color.
I'm not next to like grandfather drinking beer.
So we know the same. Sure.
Yeah, so that this, because this one goes to ground already. Sorry.
And then plug it into.
Yeah.
There we go. You.
Yeah.
To be right,
Same thing.
then I'm not good.
It doesn't have the same.
Yeah.
So what, or easy way, just leave it on until I'm impressed.
Yes, okay.
It's just to be on the whole time.
I need to use analog read or
Oh, sorry.
yeah, the same way. That way we can. like,
Yeah.
Literally touching the block.
The spaces. It could be the spaces. That could be something else.
Oh, this is right.
No, that one's.
Here you go, here you go. This is the 10, this is the 30. What's the change? Yeah, it is. The red light should be demo.
Maybe I love the.
Still the first step round.
Being able to tell
This is good. Not try to do it so when.
analog, right, 50% analog,
So
right?
just do anything.
Okay, what's the last thing? Better go down to get any prints if you want to, right? Because it's gonna close in 8 minutes. So go down and get any prints.
And don't print anything because they won't let you.
Yeah,
Just pick up your print.
just pick up your prints so you can think about it overnight.
Maybe. That was four. I printed three downstairs, so I need to go down and get.
We have printed before school.
We'll go down now.
Yeah.
And then I just so right now you want to make, so every time you click the button, you want to dim the LED with.
Yes, that's correct, yeah. Very nice.
I don't know how to do that.
You know how to do that?
So I just do it.
Don't talk about it.
Conceptually, you've got it.
Yeah.
And about right, but
Conceptually, you've got it.
you got it.
Yeah,
Which is the big version of the.
well, I'm so bad.
It's like mathematics. Between 0 and 255.
Yeah.
But it's like.
No, but the thing is that we did 120, we couldn't even tell the difference. Then we were like, what's happening? Then we tried like 10 and we could actually see like the.
Like between
10 and like high.
200 or something.
Yeah. I high is 255. Oh yeah, because digital is just on. So it's either 255.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's 5.5. I don't know why.
No, because convention is 0 to 25 is 2 to the power of 1.
Oh,
It's 5 6, right? And then 0 to 20.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's start with 0.
Yeah, I
learned that from
yeah.
Python.
So you 56, but.
Yeah.
Maybe
One,
Yeah.
0, 2,
1, 0, 2, 4.
3, 4,
3, yeah.
I was like, why? That's such a weird number. Like,
1, 0, 2, 4.
1, 0, 2, 4, yeah.
10 bits, yeah. 10 bits.
But it's
Two
just
thousand.
Yeah. Just for one.
The only reason I know 1, 0, 2, 4, 0, 4,
The envelope, right? I don't mind just making. No. Yeah.
Envelope, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
With the camera.
It's not.
So it's just a value between the.
So what I do, I want 50%.
Very nice.
Yeah.
You don't need to go down and get inference.
I do it. So you don't have to change the high.
You have 2 minutes left, so go down. 5 minutes.
Hurry up. And then you just pick it and go, don't make them jump, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you want it to be different, right? So you want the other one to be nice. The other one.
Give me yours to use.
So maybe you want it to be normally minimum, and then maybe you should get it like how you do it.
Yeah.
The dimness.
So we want the normal when it's running itself to be 255. Oh, sorry, to be half. Oh, we click it. We want.
Okay, so let's try that. Okay.
Yeah.
But then when you press it, it will come back.
Ah,
Oh, it's flowing now. Okay.
So just figure out
When does that-
which.
If you press, that would be two. But now it's not. Like,
Oh, yeah.
If current state
Yeah, that's not
equals
really-
5, like I said, 0.
oh wait, it is.
Normally it would just.
You've got the right pin and everything, that'll be the next question I have.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right pin?
Pin two.
You need analog right outside of the.
Yeah, we added value.
The person will is square.
Yeah. People say it has to be.
It has to be in the loop at the beginning, it needs to be running at least 10 or something, right?
So I should put it maybe like.
Yeah.
That, 100. And is that when you have.
Yeah, so try like 120 maybe, you have to play around with the PWM.
And then if you press, I don't need the nested if with it.
Yeah, no, the only reason we do the if loop and we're the state machine.
It's very, it's on.
If
Yeah.
we,
If I try to
click it, we wanted to keep it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if, for example, after we click it, we want to leave it on.
then you need to change the
265 like that.
to the current state.
Yeah, try like 170, you know, like the speed of it, it is working, right?
Yeah.
It is pretty obvious it's working.
Not zero, you know,
I think it's only one variable now, yeah. I don't need last state constant.
and then.
Just try it without, and then we can always write it back.
After it does that, right?
Try it without. You're right.
Sorry, I just.
Then after that.
It's the state, that state.
Yeah.
Oh, did you update the state? Usually the current state was the state.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, right, I lost it.
So last day was I press it on, and now it's at the time. What's now?
I was right, the pin. Ah. Interesting. Let's check the code. So you did it successfully, 30 and 255.
You can do it in a range,
Yeah.
but like it's
It's
not for though, which is but.
Yeah, if you wanna check the code, head to their code, because I got working with this.
It's still printing.
Still pretty good.
Yeah,
Pick it up tomorrow, then.
it's got all the support.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it-
If bumped into equals zero, but what am I saying?
What do you think?
Take this.
Zeros.
Then, and that, those. Can we just be close out
Yeah, definitely try it.
Right, you got the mode, I say, you got it now.
But then.
Also looking for. Yeah, it will have really weird behavior, you don't say that's an important output, it doesn't know what it is.
Should it be output?
It'll be pressing. Right, so let's. So this is current.
You said material is.
Currently, I'll say.
Semicolon right there.
Is
I
that-
I want it to be like every time you click.
Look,
Yeah.
right?
That's why.
There's the current state, we press it.
Yeah.
I'll just colon it.
We-
Next the last word.
And it makes it last
Low
state
value.
also high. This causes the last state.
Track 30 or 70, 50,
That means it stays on its own. The moment
Yeah,
it stays on being
No,
on.
not so
This is
very.
now changed to low, so we've taken zero, and then that instantly causes the last state to the input of that state.
You know what? Actually, you didn't put that open bracket, curly bracket for your else.
Yeah.
There's no open bracket for the else.
Very similar.
I realized I don't know that, and it sounds like it's fine. Okay, I'll look
Yeah,
at
it
it.
can be compiled, it can be compiled.
Yeah, see that, I thought it was fine.
You could compile it. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know how it was. I didn't like that.
Thank you, sir. I think I have. You want it?
I didn't know what you man. You have been. It's
I'll try it now.
Oh, you're ready? Oh, shit, okay. I don't know where it's at.
Yeah. Just because this else.
Forgot the curly.
Oh, yeah, I'll put the brackets, okay. I don't know why you can compile it, but yeah. That is one of them.
Now I know.
All right, so you feel free to leave whenever, back tomorrow at 10, and then tomorrow's just gonna be a huge design day. Okay, then we're gonna finish some of this mechatronics stuff on Thursday morning, and then you'll have some time to prep for the presentation as well. Thursday.
Ooh. Ooh.